everyone. Welcome back to another episode of That's What She Said. I'm Amanda Bryan. Today we're diving into a conversation that I think is deeply important: how to stay connected and grounded when the world feels like it's on fire. We're living in a time of immense political upheaval, and whether you're actively engaged in activism, trying to stay informed, or even just managing the emotional toll of the news cycle, it's easy to feel overwhelmed. Today, I want to talk about ways we can stay rooted, find moments of rest, and reclaim our energy so we can show up in the world with intention rather than burnout. But first, I want to give a shout out to all of you listeners and supporters of the podcast. This has been such a fun journey for me, and your support really does mean the world to me. Creator, it's really helpful. And if you are able to and would like to help me and support the healing work that I do and the mission that I'm on, which is spreading healing to all, please consider becoming a monthly supporter, and I'll link in the show notes. And you can do that at any amount. It can be $2, $3. You can also send me a one-time Venmo donation, which I will also link in the show notes. And again, your support means so much. I so appreciate you. And if you've already become a subscriber or donated, I just want to say thank you and give you a great big virtual hug. Other ways to show support if monetary is not in your wheelhouse today: you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, and YouTube. Together, we will call out false narratives, offer clarity amidst the chaos, and explore ways to bridge divides with compassion and understanding. Healing begins when we allow ourselves to step out of those heavy energies and into a space of understanding, accountability, and growth. This series is designed to be a safe place for processing grief, finding clarity, and identifying actionable ways to make a positive impact within our community. The world feels like a dumpster fire right now, but I truly believe that when we focus on collective healing, we can rebuild and create something better for all. If you would like to be a guest on the podcast and talk politics, please email me directly at amanda@amandabryanTherapy.com. I invite anyone from any end of the political spectrum to join me in a conversation where we can learn, grow, and better understand one another. And I did get a really great request over the weekend on a podcast episode request, and it was to talk more about the specific healings that I offer. So stay tuned for that, but I am going to dive a little deeper into that for that question. So thank you so much, Stacy, for that. All right, let's get into it. Today's episode is titled Rest is Resistance. And in a time in history where we need to resist so much, we also need to make sure that we are resting in all of the madness. We cannot be on all of the time, because here's the truth: rest is resistance. Taking care of ourselves is not a luxury, it's an act of defiance in a system that wants us exhausted, disconnected, and powerless. And when we take the time to care for our bodies, minds, and spirits, we cultivate the kind of energy that ripples outward, touching everyone, including those we may not agree with. So let's get into it. One of the first things I want to talk about is how we physically ground ourselves. When everything feels uncertain, our nervous system seems to go into overdrive. That fight or flight response, yeah, that's real. And if we don't regulate it, we end up making choices from a place of fear rather than clarity. And I actually want to break down the fight, flight, fawn, and freeze responses. And then we can talk about how to restore balance when we find ourselves in these physiological responses. Okay, so the fight response, what is it? It's when you perceive danger and feel the urge to confront, control, or eliminate the threat. Now, we can get into this fight response even when we're behind a keyboard. Like it's not physically we want to fight someone, though that might also be it. But I'm just going to say that again. So it's when you perceive danger in any form and you feel the urge to confront it, control it, or eliminate it altogether. And this shows up through anger or irritability, arguing, yelling, or becoming aggressive, the need to be right or in control, and defensive behavior. Now, I get it. We all like to be right. Or maybe we just don't really like to be wrong. But I think it's so important that we, as we're practicing as we're just existing through this political landscape, I think it's really, really important to remember that it's okay to be wrong. And that part of being wrong is where we help to create wisdom and through that experience. So rather than trying to like force or get into that fight response to prove your point or to be right, maybe like be curious, right? Like intertwine with the doshas here, like bring that stillness to maybe you are wrong, and like that's fine, like that's not a big deal at all. Okay, so the healthy side of the fight response is that it can be empowering when used to assert boundaries or stand up for yourself. So this is when we can, like, in a healthy way, use the fight response where we like set up a boundary and say, no, thank you. The unhealthy pattern is this chronic aggression, controlling behavior, or reacting explosively. The flight response is you sense a danger and feel the urge to escape it or run from it. And so how this shows up is through anxiety or panic, overworking or staying constantly busy, like having a real hard time sitting down and resting. And I am a busybody too, I get it, but it is so important that we carve out time throughout our busyness to sit in stillness. And oftentimes, I know I personally find when I'm busy, go, and I like just stop and sit, there is something I'm running from. Whether it's an emotional thing, a task that I have to do, like whatever it is. So again, be curious with that. Another form of how this shows up is through avoidance or procrastination. I love procrastinating. Or feeling like you can never slow down. The healthy side is that it can help you leave unsafe or toxic situations, right? Like think about, I was just having this conversation with somebody the other day about how our anxiety is a superpower because it's your body letting you know that you're someplace or with someone or in a situation that's not aligned with you. So that flight response can get us to leave and walk away when we feel like something is toxic. And this often this shows up in friendships. It's not an easy one. And the unhealthy pattern is this constant busyness, this burnout, or avoiding emotional confrontation. It's amazing to me how willing people are to be uncomfortable with emotions rather than having a conversation with or about whatever that thing is. Remember, emotions are energy in motion. We are not our emotions. We let them move through us. We're kind of like the boat on the sea of emotions. And there's always going to be different ones. And so I think it's important that we get real comfortable with the really uncomfortable emotions that we experience. Because here's the thing, they're never going to go away. They're just going to keep getting like stuck in your karmic energetic field. Okay, the freeze response. What it is. It's when you sense danger, but you feel unable to act. So your body and mind just shut down to protect you. And this shows up through disassociation or feeling numb, trouble speaking or thinking clearly, spacing out or feeling stuck, and depression or low energy. I recently had a client on my table, a brand new client, which we were kind of talking about what her goal was for the session. And one of it was that she wanted to feel confident in speaking her truth. Like I think it was when she was at work or something, she would feel like when she had to speak or defend her position or her project or whatever it was, like she could not talk. She would get like close up, insecure, second guess herself, all of those things. And so I got her on the table, and as soon as I put my hands on her abdomen, I heard Salem witch trials, and I asked her about it. And she told me that her great grandmother was actually hung in the Salem witch trials. And so I instantly got that this is something that has been passed down to this person now. This is where, again, the body keeps score. Energy, it's where we trauma, generations of trauma, things like that. So something that we may have never been aware of before, but then you kind of have that, like, you start to put the pieces together. I have not seen her since, but I will provide an update because it was really cool. Because as soon as I put my hands down and said, I was like, do you like the Sam witch trial, or are you familiar with it, or something like that? And she was like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. That's where I had a relative that was hung. So then when I got up to the throat and was giving Reiki, I was offering a lot of space there. So the healthy side of a freeze response is that it can provide a temporary pause to assess a situation. The unhealthy pattern is where we chronically disconnect. We have paralysis in decision making. What is that called? Analysis paralysis. Or we just emotionally shut down. We will not feel our emotions. And then they get stuck in our bodies. And then you come to me and I take care of it. The fawn response is when you try to appease or please others to avoid conflict or to stay safe. I see this in a lot of my clients that had very emotionally immature parents. And so now as adults, they have always learned how to do the emotional work for other people, that then they have like no clue. They have no idea what their own emotions are. They're so caught up in reading like empaths, like, reading everybody else's emotions to keep them safe, because that's how they were raised. And this shows up through people pleasing, codependency, difficulty saying no, and abandoning your own needs to care for others. Because you have that like mom guilt, right? Like you want to always put your kids or your family or whatever before you, but I need to also be the best version of myself in order to give them the level of me that they deserve. So it's so important to fill your own cup. And then the fear of being disliked or rejected. I think we all have this. I secretly believe that like nobody really likes me. The healthy side is empathy and cooperation. The unhealthy pattern is self-abandonment, blurred boundaries, loss of identity in relationships. So we all have been that person or have had that friend that with each relationship they get into, they take on the personality. Like, so say they start dating somebody that skateboards, then they're super into skateboarding. And then they start dating somebody that snowmobiles, then they're super into snowmobiling. They identify very strongly in the relationship and to their partner. So let's talk about some simple grounding practices that help bring us back to center. Number one, yoga and movement. And yoga isn't just about flexibility, it's about presence. The word yoga means to yoke or to bring together the body and the mind. So the goal of yoga has never been to touch your toes, but rather to get your head out of your ass. Because the physical practice of yoga helps us regulate our nervous system, reminding us that we are safe in our own bodies, and it moves energy and tension in the body to prepare us for meditation. Even if you just do 5 minutes of deep breathing and stretching in the morning, that can be a radical act of self-care, and you deserve it. You deserve to feel good in your body. Every morning before I start my day and every night before I climb into bed, I let go of physical tension, emotional tension, mental tension through my yoga practice. And the days that I skip it, I notice a huge difference. So it works so well, I don't even want to not do it. Like I even do it on vacations. Number two, meditation and breath work. When the world feels like too much, turn inward. Meditation, even just a few minutes a day, can create space between the chaos and our reactions. A great practice is loving kindness meditation. I've talked about this before. This is where you send peaceful intentions, not just to yourself, but to others, and even those that you struggle with. So imagine what it would feel like to hold compassion even when it's hard. I know personally, Kundalini yoga helped me regulate my nervous system a lot during the pandemic. And though I was turned off by some of its cultish ways, the actual kriyas and meditations really do tap into the nervous system in a way that I had never experienced before. Kundalini classes are hard to come by, but if you can find one, get to one. There are some really great ones on YouTube. So you can just go to YouTube and put Kundalini for emotional release or Kundalini Kriya for prosperity. And remember that with any yoga or meditation or breathwork class, you're the best teacher in the room. Honor you and find that balance between pushing yourself right up to your own edge and then maybe stepping back. I did my first breathwork class and it was life changing. And if you've never done one before, I highly, highly recommend it. Breathwork refers to any intentional practice that involves conscious control of the breath to influence your physical, emotional, or mental state. It also is a great way to tone the vagus nerve. And it can be as simple as this deep belly breathing or more structured practices like box breathing, where you would inhale on a count of 2 or 4, hold, exhale on a count of 2 or 4, hold, inhale on a count of 2 or 4, hold, and then exhale. So you can even imagine that box that you create. Alternate nostril breathing, holotropic breath work, transformational breath, and coherent breathing, which is very slow, rhythmic breaths that balance the nervous system. Breathwork has been used in many traditions, from yoga, pranayama, to modern somatic therapy as a tool to access healing. So how does it work? Your breath is deeply connected to your nervous system, especially the autonomic nervous system, which controls your fight, flight, freeze, or rest responses. Shallow, fast breathing signals to your brain that something is wrong and it triggers stress. Slow, deep breathing tells your body that you're safe and it calms the nervous system. Breath work can lower your cortisol, that's the stress hormone. It can slow down your heart rate. It increases the oxygen flow to your brain and body, releases stuck trauma and emotion, and it creates a sense of clarity, calm, or euphoria, depending on the technique you use. And it helps with so many things: anxiety and panic attacks, stress and overwhelm, trauma and emotional release, spiritual connection, focus and mental clarity, sleep regulation, and creative blocks, or just that feeling of stuck. There literally is no downside to meditating. Your breath is always with you. It's free, it's always available, and it's incredibly powerful. And we really don't have much control over anything in this world, but we can always control our breath. So when the world feels chaotic or your emotions feel heavy, turning to your breath can bring you back to the present moment and help you feel safe, grounded, and whole again. Number 3, nature walks and grounding. Get outside. I don't care if it's raining. I don't care if it's cold. I don't care if it's wet. At some point, just get outside. Even if you stand under an umbrella, get outside. Feel the earth under your feet. There's something about physically connecting with the natural world that reminds us that we're part of something bigger. Walking meditation, barefoot grounding, or simply sitting in the sun can shift your energy in powerful ways. Or simply sitting in nature for a few moments without distraction of your phone and viewing the beauty and perfection all around us. Through history and across nearly every culture, spending time in nature has been seen as sacred, healing, and necessary for human well-being. From ancient civilizations to modern day science, the natural world has always been a mirror, a teacher, and a source of restoration. So some people might turn to religion, and I know a lot of people, and I just saw a stat the other day about the gap between people that hold strongly or firmly into religious beliefs, that's getting bigger with this generation. And so if turning to an organized religion doesn't feel comfortable yet, or comfortable at all in connecting with something bigger than yourself, then connect with nature. Indigenous cultures around the world have long held a reciprocal relationship with nature. Land isn't just scenery, it's alive, it's conscious, it's sacred, it's our Mother Earth. And just like any good mother, she will give and give and give. And at some point, we have to stop being bratty children, and we have to stop taking and taking and taking from her. Native American traditions speak of Mother Earth as a living being, deserving of respect. In many African and Aboriginal cultures, nature is where spirit lives. In the trees, rivers, and animals, they all have their own soul and message. In ceremony, song, and healing often happen outdoors in connection with the elements. I know one of my favorite parts of the retreats that I run is being outside. In Taoism, Harmony with nature is the central teaching. Flowing with the natural rhythms, the Tao, brings balance. In the Japanese culture, they practice something called Shinrin Yoku. I probably just botched that. Or we call it forest bathing, which means mindfully walking in the woods to rejuvenate the body and mind. In Buddhism, the natural world is a place of meditation and impermanence. Watching a leaf fall or wave crash is a spiritual teaching in itself. In Western traditions, the ancient Greeks saw nature as a place of philosophical reflection and divine beauty. Aristotle taught his students while walking through groves. In the Romantic period, think poets like Wordsworth, nature became the ultimate antidote to industrialization, a place to reconnect with emotion, spirit, and meaning. Even today, many religious retreats take place in mountains, deserts, or forests, or again, healing retreats. It's far away from the distractions to help people hear their inner voice. But grounding isn't just about what we do. It's also about how we process what's happening. If you've been feeling exhausted, angry, or hopeless, that's valid. But instead of letting those emotions fester, we need ways to channel them into something useful. And here's how: therapy and energy work. Finding a therapist, especially one who understands trauma, activism fatigue, or nervous system regulation, can be a game changer. EMDR therapy is incredible for processing overwhelming experiences. I have many clients who work with an EMDR therapist, and it's been a wonderful tool on their healing journey. Energy healing like Reiki or acupuncture can release the energetic weight that we carry, because remember, the body remembers what the mind tries to forget. Emotions are not just fleeting thoughts or feelings. And I have to say, an actual emotion, the true weight of an emotion, from chemical reaction in your brain to physiological response throughout your body to you recognizing it, is 90 seconds long. So anything after 90 seconds is like what fuel you are feeding to the fire. So like, that's wonderful news. Okay, so emotions are not just fleeting thoughts or feelings. They have a physiological signature. When we experience trauma, stress, grief, anger, shame, or even intense joy, it imprints itself into our nervous system and often stores itself in the fascia, muscles, and tissues of the body. We might not always be conscious of it, but our body keeps score, as Bessel van der Kolk famously wrote, and that score shows up. If you have not read The Body Keeps Score, please do. It is fantastic. How does this show up? Chronic tension in the shoulders or jaw, gut issues or tight hips, migraines or shallow breathing, sensitivities to touch or stimulation, or getting like super overstimulated for like when it's like unnecessary. Like someone walks in the door and drops their bag and it like the sound like shocks you and irritates you because you get so stimulated. In this way, the body keeps a library of lived experience, both emotional and physical. Sometimes it's only through body work or energy work that we can actually access and release what talk therapy alone can't always reach. I think there is a wonderful combination or a wonderful marriage between talk therapy and energy or physical therapy. And it's something that I offer with my clients. I actually got the best compliment the other day in that someone overlapped me with their therapy appointment. And so I was like, oh, no problem. And I gave them a date, a few more dates of when I could see them. And they were like, oh, no, I rescheduled with my therapist. I was like, oh, thanks so much. What is energetic weight? We all have it. Energetic weight is the unseen emotional residue we carry, whether it's in our own or absorbed from others. And it may come from past trauma that hasn't been fully processed, unexpressed grief or anger, long-term stress or burnout, and taking on other people's emotions. Empaths, I see you. This weight can show up as exhaustion or heaviness in the body, feeling emotionally stuck, pain with no medical explanation, difficulty breathing deeply, emotional overwhelm for no reason. All right, so let's talk a little bit deeper into how energy works. And specifically, let's look at Reiki, acupuncture, and massage as release tools. So Reiki is an ancient Japanese healing technique that involves channeling universal life force energy, or ki, through the hands, directly on or hovering over the body. The practitioner becomes a conduit of this energy, and this helps to unblock stuck or stagnant energy, restore balance to the body's energetic centers, the chakras. After clients get off my table, they all say that they feel so much lighter after. I even have had people ask me if I use drugs or CBD oil in my massage oil because they are feel high when they're done a session with me. And I say, no, you're just high off your own supply. Reiki is going to promote emotional release and deep relaxation, and it's going to clear trauma that is held in the energy body. Clients often report heat, tingling, or sudden emotional responses like crying or even laughing. And this is signs that energy is shifting and releasing. And so it's really important that you feel safe enough to release and let go of those emotions. Acupuncture. Acupuncture is rooted in traditional Chinese medicine. Acupuncture stimulates specific points along the body's meridians to clear blockages and restore flow of qi energy, or qi. By tapping into the energetic map of the body, acupuncture can release trauma from organ systems. Grief is in the lungs, anger is in the liver. Re-regulate the nervous system. It can ease chronic pain that's tied to emotional holding, and it can provide a somatic reset. Many clients feel a drop-in sensation, this like deep descent into parasympathetic calm, where real healing begins. Massage therapy, my favorite. My work is sacred body work, and I'm not just manipulating muscles, though when I do find those trigger points, I do like to go to town on them. I am listening to the stories written in somebody's body. A simple holding of the sacrum or shoulders can feel like being held emotionally, especially for those who store their emotions or their hips or feel like they carry the weight of the world on their shoulders. Gentle rocking, myofascial release, or trigger point therapy can unwind long-held trauma loops. Rocking is so very soothing, and it brings us back to this primal need of being taken care of or soothed by our mothers. And yes, those tears on the table, that's not just a release of stress. It's a somatic exhale of something that's been waiting for permission to let go. I have a lot of tears on my table and in my classes, and I'm almost offended if I don't see them. And I feel honored that people feel that safe with me to allow themselves to have that release. They're allowing me to hold space for them. It's my absolute favorite part of the gig. Touch helps bridge the energetic and physical, creating space for integration, the yoke, bringing together yoga. So, the healing power of being witnessed. One of the most powerful pieces of energy or body work is that you're not just doing something to the client, you're holding space for them. When someone has a physiological release, a cry, a tremble, a sigh, they're not just feeling an emotion, they're finally letting their body complete a cycle. They are finally feeling safe enough to feel. They are finally being witnessed in the places that they've carried alone. And sometimes, like, this is done on such an energetic level that oftentimes when I'm working on people, they're like not they're somewhere else. They're in between this like sleep state. They're not sleeping, but they're snoring, but they're dropping into their bodies and just allowing me to do the work that I need to do, which is ancient, it's sacred, and it's real healing. So whether it's through Reiki, acupuncture, massage, energy healing helps peel back the layers, the tension, the armor, and the emotional debris so that the body can come back to balance, and so the soul can take a breath. And this is why rest is such an important form of resistance. Now, the opposite of, is just being lazy. And I'm a Taurus, so I love my lazy days. I get that. And as a massage therapist, I'm not just easing muscle pain. I'm helping people come home to themselves. One breath, one touch, and one release at a time. Number 2, writing and creating creative expressions. Sometimes we need to get the swirling thoughts out of our heads. Journaling, poetry, or even voice memos can help. If you're someone who doesn't know where to start, try this prompt. What is something I need to release today so I can move forward with clarity? And one of my favorite activities in my healing workshops is to do intuitive writing. And this is where I will give a prompt. I'll give a sentence, like the start of a sentence, and then I set a timer on my phone. And the intent is that you don't let the pen stop moving until the timer is up. So you just write, write, write. And even if you have to write, I have no idea what to write about, but Amanda has said, I can't stop writing. So here I am writing. This is a way for us to dive deep into the subconscious. And eventually, when the timer stops and you read back what you wrote, people are amazed. They're surprised at what actually came up. So I invite you to set a timer for 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, and use the prompt, I am stepping into the version of myself that is. And then don't stop writing until the timer goes off. I'm going to say that one more time. I am stepping into the version of myself that is. And I'll also put that in the show notes. 3, I've mentioned before, talk therapy. I love talk therapy. I love talking. And community support. We're not meant to do this alone. Having spaces where we can process our emotions, whether it's with a therapist, a friend, a support group, it's vital. And let's not forget, activism and resistance are not just individual efforts. They thrive in community. This is such an important time to gather in community. All right, so I want to leave you with this thought. What if every time we ground ourselves, we send that energy outward? Think about it. What if in our meditation, in our breath work, in our daily movements, our walks, we visualized sending peace, clarity, and healing energy out into the world? Not just to the people we love, not just to those who share our beliefs, but to everyone, even those we fundamentally disagree with. I do this practice every single day because let's be real, resistance is not just about fighting. It's about shifting energy, breaking cycles, and creating something new. And I truly believe that when we move into a place of intention rather than reactivity, we create something more powerful than we ever could have from a place of fear. So as we wrap up today's episode, I want to invite you to reflect. What is one thing you can do today to reclaim your energy? How can you rest in a way that strengthens rather than drains you? And how can you send positive healing energy outward so that your resistance is fueled by love, not just rage? I would love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to DM me, send me a voice note, or share your reflections on social media and tag me. And if this episode spoke to you, please share it with someone who might need to hear it too. Thank you for being here, for showing up, and for doing the work in a way that honors you. Until next time, take care of yourself and each other.